The Todd Shapiro Show.
Time to hit the button!
On Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.
Well, this is nice. We have a new partner over the last few weeks live in the 360 Secure Studios, and you look at their management team and you're like, my goodness, an old buddy of mine and someone who's always been very honest and very real to me, and someone I really appreciate his directness and all his hard work that he's done, not only for the community of Toronto, but for the police service and the association there. And now for 360 Secure, as he's working as the head of security and intel. Craig Bromell joins us. Hey, Craig.
Hey, buddy. How are you, man?
Man, it's so good to talk to you. I'm well, thank you for asking. And yourself?
I'm doing really well. Everything's good.
Good. You still based out of Toronto?
I am. It's still in Toronto, and I'm enjoying it. I'm still enjoying the city.
Yeah, good stuff. Obviously, city's expanding. Is there even a big difference since you were, Toronto police officer and inducted a while ago now to the Canadian Police Association's Hall of Honor in 2006 for your outstanding service, and president of the Toronto Police Association from 97 to 2003. How much has this city grown since those days?
I think it's the same work. It's the same, law enforcement hasn't changed that much, but it's I think the world we live in now, because of the computers and that technology has changed. We're seeing more thefts now than ever before, identity thefts and all that. So that side of it's changed, but the men and women of the service are the same type of people. Really incredible training for a profession, any profession. So I see that the people that are filling the scout cars are the same. Crime's changed a bit. Obviously, it's a little more violent now. Easier access to firearms. And we could talk a long time about that. The court should be taking more care of when you make an arrest and get a conviction and all that stuff to keep the bad guys off the street. But I think it's more violent, and it's just because of the computer world we live in now, the type of crime has changed.
Well, Craig, let's talk about the gun issue, because it's wild to me how many repeated stories you hear about all these illegal guns and all these unlicensed gun owners. And how, like, in the first place, in your opinion, and we'll talk about 360 Secure in a moment, but how in the first place how are so many guns getting here?
Well, a lot of it's homegrown, a lot more than what people would think. There are a lot of gun owners in Canada. Some of them still come over the border. Compared to the Americans, they produce firearms of all kind, a lot more than we do. But there are, and we hear about it every once in a while. There's been a break and enter into somebody's home, and dozens of firearms of all shapes and sizes have been taken. So there is a lot of registered gun owners in this country, a lot more than people would know. And that's where a lot of our firearms are coming from for the break and enters. So, organized crime know that somebody has a lot of guns, are breaking in for that reason. So it's not, we can't blame the Americans completely because it is happening also in our own backyard. So that's either over the border or people that collect firearms, guns, law-abiding citizens that do it. But fortunately, people will break into your home to take your firearms out and then use them in the commission of an offense.
I think maybe a good example to just sort of discuss briefly would have been but just over a month ago when the Toronto Raptors had the parade, and what a beautiful day, and a few million people out there, if not more, really celebrating. And it was tough, long, hot, unorganized, and then during the speeches, there's some gun violence and stuff. Do people who carry guns, Craig, from your experience, just not care about the repercussions that they could face? Not only A, carrying something illegal, but B, actually firing this thing? Do they just not have that thing in their brain where they care?
They don't. I don't think it's a large group, but it only takes one person, which is what happened during that parade celebration. The amount of chaos and cause was staggering. It's hard to prepare yourself for times like that, but there are people out there that just don't care. Their values on life are a lot different than I think the normal Canadian. So I think that I don't know how you counter that, though. A big part, and I think what's missing now in law enforcement is intelligence gathering. It's a really negative word because of people thinking that we're spying on everybody or the police are spying on everybody, which isn't the case. So intelligence gathering is one way of preventing something like that, to know who has the firearms, who's using it, who's about to use it. That's really one of the tools that police have used for many, many years that they just don't really have now. And that's unfortunate. But if society want that, we can put up with an occasional shooting like that, what happened there, or any other, every day here in the city of Toronto. If that's what society want, and they're going to turn a blind eye to it, then so be it. I mean, the coppers are just going to do what they've been told and trained to do. But if society, and I mean all the decision makers out there, are like, okay, let's move on. Tomorrow's another day. And I think that's where we're at now, Todd. I think that's people are just like, you know what? You keep hearing this, compared to the rest of North America, Toronto's a very safe city. But, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, there could have been over 300 victims of gunshots in the city. Not all passed away last year. What do you say to those people and their families? And the reason the homicides aren't up much more is because our emergency services, the paramedics in the city, are like second to none. I mean, they're saving lives where 10 years ago people were dying on the street. So that's a big reason why we don't have as many homicides, because we're averaging a shooting a day now in this city where somebody has shot their gun in public somewhere or in a private residence that would bring harm to somebody. But the main reason why our homicide rate is double what it should be, or triple, because of our paramedic, our three-tier emergency service is incredible here in the city.
That's amazing to hear, and something, to be honest, I would have never even thought of. You just see a stat that, not as many deaths as you might think, and that's a great reason why I'm really glad that you paid tribute to that incredible service. You say intelligence gathering is a sensitive topic, obviously carding, another very sensitive topic, and the other thing that I would say is sensitive, and I'm not a police officer, Craig, you know me, I'm not brave enough or tough enough to ever do that, but would be, I think, also sort of social media backlash. Is it, with all those things now, some being removed and social media backlash, is it harder to be an officer these days?
It is, but like when the integrity of a police service anywhere is number one. So they will throw a copper under the bus to save the integrity of the police service. You have 8,000 police employees in Toronto. We'll use Toronto as an example. That's what I'm closest to. The vast majority, if not all of them, don't care about the backlash, and they don't get sensitive about negativity toward them. They're just doing their job. And with social media or anything else, I really wish, and I've always thought this, I wish that the leaders of the police service, and this is anywhere, would look at the men and women, and they just rub it off and go out the next day and do their job. They don't care about the backlash. They're just doing their job. A lot of it is, political correctness. A lot of it is, the media need the negative story to sell that paper or whatever it is, right? They just need it. I've always said, police involved shootings on page 1 and the hero cops on page 47. So it's always been like that. It's still like this today. So there's a responsibility for all of us. Social media is hard to police, with the comments, as we all know. But for that reason, the people that are pounding the beat out there really don't care. It doesn't bother them like it does when the decision makers of any police service are trying to save and cover their ass and make it bigger than what it actually is. And that's frustrating to a lot of people out there.
Well, at least it's good to know that a lot of these officers are professional enough just to go about their business. And as you know, I have the utmost respect for our police officers. And it always had bothered me that, if there was the one bad apple, that's the only thing that's focused on. And all of a sudden we're stereotyping all cops to be bad apples. And the media spin on it really does disgust me, because we're very privileged and fortunate to have such an incredible police force in this country across the spectrum. Like you said, this is really one of the safest countries on the planet, and I just think we should be definitely putting a little bit more focus as media members on that. And Craig and I used to do a bunch of media. Now you're doing the head of security and intel for 360 Secure, a company that I've grown very fond of. And how's the switch now for you working in a public company, but sort of in the private sector?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. We put a good team together, very professional group, and it's primarily we're concentrating on transporting cannabis in bulk everywhere. We do all forms of security, but we started up as a cannabis company, transporting the cannabis. Thomas, our founder, was going around. People were talking about producing it and growing it, but nobody was talking about how are we going to transport it. So we put an incredible team together, high-level security. For 50 years or so, the bad guys were transporting marijuana rarely in North America. It was hard to weed them out. The biggest challenge we have right now with anything with cannabis, not just transport, is 70% of the cannabis industry in this country and in the States is black market. Still organized crimes involved very much. I think that the governments, both levels of government, mainly the feds and the provinces, have dropped the ball on this, and they should be more aggressive and bring in regulations to help companies like ours combat the black market. When you have only 20-odd stores selling legally in this province, there should be 400 stores right now, 20 legal stores where there's over 100 illegal stores operating. That's a big problem, and it's going to take us years to catch up to that. There's not enough regulations in place to police that. The police budgets haven't really been increased where they should be, so they can enforce any new laws regarding cannabis. It's legal now, and we're very much involved, and we think it's a great product. The medicinal side of this is incredible. It's saving lives everywhere. So I quickly jumped on board to kind of control that, but it's been very frustrating trying to get I mention this all the time, the decision makers, the ones that are going to write the laws and the bylaws, to come on board, because it's the organized crime and the black market side of this industry is staggering, how many are still involved, and we see it all the time. So it's frustrating on a lot of us, but the company is very, very successful. We're making the best, mainly because of the team that we've put together. So I'm actually enjoying it quite a bit.
Craig Bromell, for a grumpy guy, nice to hear how happy you are, like really enjoying this position.
Today. Tomorrow's another day. You know that.
No, you're such a beauty, bud. And it is interesting. I've never sort of thought about, we talk about the cannabis sector pretty much daily here on the program. And yeah, all our guests kind of repeatedly will say things like, this black market is still thriving so much and they don't see it going away anywhere. Are there ever threats from sort of the organized crime side of things that would ever maybe do a heist of a transport from the legal side of things, or am I getting too movie-ish?
No, you're bang on. We're very concerned of it. Our personnel that are doing the transport are very highly trained, armed personnel. They're everywhere, and we keep in touch with law enforcement everywhere. Part of the intelligence gathering is so we can protect our employees at the highest level. And it's it's a plant. So if there is a theft of any kind, it's pretty much gone for good because there's no serial numbers on it. It's not like stealing cigarettes or booze, which you can easily recover. So it's a real concern of ours. We're still seeing, and even in Toronto, there's unsolved murders where security personnel have been shot and killed at grow-ops, legal and illegal in the city. There's still outstanding homicides where people have been shot and killed that were actually doing security. So talking to my old friends with homicide squads and all that, they're frustrated. There's just not enough news about it. And I think the more news we get out there about this, it's going to fix the problem, because the owners of these storefronts and the LPs, the licensed producers out there, are primarily just great people making a business and making it better for all of us, because we've been able to produce a great product that's helping people on many fronts. So if we educate everybody out there on it, listen, this is still a big problem. That's just not happening, Todd. It's very frustrating on our end. I think law enforcement for sure. I think the legal LPs, the licensed producers out there, are extremely frustrated with this. The people that have opened up the stores everywhere in the province of the country. You know what? Say there's 150 stores out there across the country. There should be hundreds right now. because there's hundreds of black market storefronts out there. And that's just wrong. It's like there's something wrong with this picture. But not enough's being done. It's being ignored, and whether it's the federal government or all the provinces should really step up, put massive enforcement behind this big problem we have so we can control it, because you really want everybody to know that's legal to purchase this, that you're getting the right product and you're not getting something that's been spiked with something else. And it's still a very dangerous situation. So the products that are out there with the legit LPs are, great products, but they've been controlled through different means. So the stuff that you're buying at the black market, you just don't know what you're getting. And the lowball prices, they don't pay taxes, so everybody loses on that. So it's frustrating on our point of view because not enough people are taking it serious. And I think it's a quick fix. And I know that law enforcement everywhere want to be told that this is what they can do or can't do, and it's just very confusing right now for everybody. And people drop the ball on this because, all this time because medicinal has been around for a while now, so it's been a while, and we still have black market that control the market. That's not good. That's nowhere else in society do we have that. So.
Craig Bromell on the phone with us, the former president of the Toronto Police Association and now the head of security and intel at 360 Secure, talking about sort of the protection of transportation of cannabis and cannabis in stores and everything. And it is a really fascinating peculiar situation, I think, that Canada is. And you mentioned the federal government. Did they maybe not do enough thinking beyond just making it sort of like, granted, listen, people are very happy. Voters were clearly very happy, Trudeau and his government for pushing this through. But did they not sort of have enough protocol in place to go, wait a second, how are we going to, A, get rid of the black market, and B, protect this stuff?
I think they should have done more at the beginning or before it went legal. I think that the federal government had an opportunity with their partners to get rid of the black market side of this. And I don't think there was any effort in that, where obviously there wasn't because where we're at now. That all should have been done as a build-up to the legalization, whether medicinal or not. And it just seemed like people didn't want to go there. I think it was a very political hot button. I think it did get votes. So why confuse people? Why mix it up? I know the political world very well, and I could see that. And it didn't matter who was in government, not whether the Liberals, Conservatives, or NDP. I think any party would have done the same thing. So I think politics played a big role in this. And I think people dropped the ball. It should have been more. The problem of black market and organized crime in cannabis should have been taken care of long before we legalized anything, and an effort should have been put out there. And I don't know if we're ever going to get back or be in a position in the near future anyways that we can fix that problem, because again, it's not a priority. It's not, you're not hearing about it. Media is not talking about it. Law enforcement's not talking about it. They're just confused about the whole setup now. And I think the feds should have taken still take a much bigger role now. It seems like it's been dumped down to the provinces. And I think a lot of issues could be to streamline it. But when it comes to organized crime and when it comes to combating the negativity of this business now, that's a federal problem. And I think there's a chance for them to take the lead on this and fix the problem, because, again, when you're dealing with the black market, you don't know the product you're getting. And you could be dealing with somebody that you've dealt with for years, long before that was legal. But they're competing now, too. The black market's competing. So, they're going to cut corners. And they're saying something is as strong as it is, it could be stronger. You got a problem on your hands. And then you can't control the youth getting a hold of this also. So I think the plan was good when it was put in place. But we have really failed on this when it comes to the illegal side of cannabis. And I'm talking about Canada right now.
And Craig, ultimately, is the government just sort of moving a little too cautiously and a little too slow, meaning that, you know, they're being very strict with licenses, very strict with storefronts, very strict who can sell this, as opposed to maybe opening up that marketplace a lot more to try and crush that black market. So that's where consumers would go.
I think there's, you know, in talking to the other experts out there should be 400 stores in the province of Ontario right now. And there's more than enough. I think they would still have to shoo away half the people that could legitimately do it. The problem with the lottery is the people that are really organized in making it legal and putting the right funds together and raising the right kind of money and putting the right people in charge, they weren't even anywhere near the winners of that lottery. I think the lottery was a joke. It was terrible because a lot of people, figured, you know, they put it in on a whim. It was like you and I getting together and having a beer and say, let's go out and put a thing in tomorrow and try to win this with no plan. That was half of the people that won. Right? So it was not, I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know why they're trying to do it because there's a massive amount of tax money attached to this for the province.
Sure.
So I'm just speaking about the province of Ontario right now. And they announced, you know, another 50. I don't know why they're taking so long or so short, because that's affecting everybody, including people that are going to legally try to purchase this. They're getting frustrated, so they're going back to the black market. So nobody's benefiting from this outside of the black market by somebody or a group like the province of Ontario taking their time on this. There should be hundreds of stores out there right now, legally and up and running, no problems.
Couldn't agree more with you, Craig. Real quick here in the last few minutes, the United States is sort of taking its time too, as we know. Are there any plans for 360 Secure to sort of get out that way as the laws lessen and we're seeing more states legalize cannabis? Have you done some business over there?
Yeah, we are in several states right now. Also, we know that our sources are telling us that the federal government will legalize this. I think even they realize the amount of, you know, just the tax money alone involved with legalizing it. I think it's a different world down there because of the federal statute is not there to legalize this. So pretty much a cash business down there because the banks can't get involved. So it's a different template for us, but we are down there. We're in several states. But I think it's almost unanimous that I think it's going to be before their next election next year. I think it will be legalized. I mean, I don't think we're going to always get 50 states doing it, but at least, 45 states will have it legal. The feds are going to have no choice down there. And I think they are leaning toward it now. I think they've just realized there's incredible amount of tax money they can make and revenue on this. And, why not do it so you can control it? Because the black market's a massive problem down the States also because of that.
I always joke that, Trump will just throw another curveball to people and just start talking about it off script and people.
Our friends down there, my friends, with different agencies down there, this is exactly what they think is going to happen.
Yep.
He's a businessman.
He's a businessman. Yep.
Right? I think before the election, that's a big election ploy, like it was up here. Why not? And I think, there's some serious Republican states down in the States have legalized it now. So both parties agree with this.
Couldn't concur more. Well, listen, we're really pleased for you to join the program, Craig. I've always had, I appreciate our friendship off air from time to time when we bump into each other. You as a media member, you as an author, people can still pick up his memoir titled Cop Father, the Craig Bromell story. Never too late to go and pick up a good read for a summer's, vacation. And hopefully you can join us from time to time, as obviously we are partners with 360 Secure Corp. We love the entire team there, from David to Thomas and Alia, and it's such valuable information that we do get from some leaders of industry, and we do appreciate your time.
Todd, anytime. You just call. I always enjoy talking with you, my friend.
Okay, thanks. Craig Bromell, everyone, head of security and intel at 360 Secure, also a publicly traded company. If you want, do your due diligence. I can't give financial advice. The stock symbol is safe. And personally, I would just say, Todd Shapiro thinks it's a good buy right now.
This is the Todd Shapiro Show on Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.